There's been an ongoing battle between anti-fascists and right-wing individuals who were set to hold a free speech rally when the Antifa activists started putting up posters around DC, and they were doxing certain individuals. I believe Tucker Carlson and Stephen Miller had their, I saw the posters, their addresses on them, and I'm told that this Antifa account, All Out DC or All Out District, tweeted out an image that had Tucker Carlson's address. This apparently got taken down, and then following a campaign by Jack Posobiec, apparently a bunch of these Antifa accounts have been deleted. So we have a big update here. Ford Fisher tweets, "It appears Jack Posobiec has managed to turn Twitter against DC Antifa. Antifa just sent out a press release stating that not one but 5 of their and their friends' Twitter accounts, including All Out District, were removed after a reporting campaign by Jack." And so we have these 3 images where they're playing silly games, claiming that, oh, you know, we didn't put the posters up, but we appreciate who did. The posters say All Out DC on them. Your Twitter account is All Out District. Well, apparently there's been a bunch of accounts that have gotten banned. So let's see what Antifa has to say. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. But of course, if you think I deserve it, I request you share the video because YouTube is removing suggested feeds from my and other channels. So I could use your assistance, but by all means, feel free not to do anything. In their press release from All Out DC at riseup.net, they say, for immediate release, Twitter bans All Out DC mobilization Twitter account / alt-right trolls get anti-racist Twitter accounts banned. They say on June 24th, the Twitter account of All Out District was suspended from Twitter for apparent rules violations. I can confirm that the posters put up that read All Out DC did dox Tucker Carlson and Stephen Miller. Whether or not they tweeted them, I'm not entirely sure. They did tweet some images where you couldn't make out that the address was on it, but I've seen the posters, the address was on it. So that's doxing. That's against the rules. They say the suspension was due to alt-right leader Jack Posobiec mass false report campaign against All Out District and 4 other leftist social media accounts. All the accounts were suspended due to the sheer amount of reports and not due to the validity of Mr. Posobiec's allegations. After pressure from far-right trolls connected to pro-Trump circles, Twitter suspended 6 accounts run by anti-fascists and pro-migrant groups. These accounts included Shut It Down DC, Baltimore Anti-Fascists, 202 Antifa Anti-Fascists, Block the Wall, and Narco-Anon. These accounts have been critical in promoting demonstrations against Trump's attack on migrants and asylum seekers at the border, as well as mobilizing for anti-fascist and anti-racist mobilizations across the East Coast, such as against Unite the Right, and you know the rest. Jack Posobiec, prior to the deletion of All Out DC, tweeted a dozen times in several hour periods, asking his Twitter followers to essentially mass report them. He said, and then they have a link to a bunch of the tweets, and you can see it's not just him. There's also Tara LaRosa. They say Posobiec alleges that All Out District posted the home addresses of alt-right pundit Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump's right-hand man, Stephen Miller. They say that they have never posted the personal information of either of these men on the internet. We tweeted pictures of fantastic posters that were found around DC, but none of these pictures contained any addresses. Completely false. I've seen them. Can confirm I've seen them. I can't share those photos because it's someone's private address. But yes, the address was absolutely on there. We make it a priority to abide by Twitter policy and guidelines. Overt lies. In DC, you can see them. The addresses are on the posters. We are not saying that we disagree with doxing fascists. We are simply stating we bear no responsibility for the exceptionally made posters that have popped up around DC spreading the word about their invasion. Now, here's the thing. The posters say all Out DC on them. So somebody just happened to use your name just before your Twitter account came into existence, and then you tweeted the pictures. They say, we tweeted pictures of fantastic posters. Yep, some of those posters did have addresses on them. Posobiec has also, they go on to say that he's also been connected with both the alt-right, which is just, it's silly nonsense. And yes, there's a lot to criticize Posobiec for past tweets. However, I haven't been able to confirm the past tweets from Posobiec with what they accuse him of. I've seen screenshots, but look, I've had people fabricate fake screenshots from me, so I got to take that with a grain of salt. They talk about echoes, and look, I'll say this, man. You are free to criticize Posobiec. I'm not here to defend the guy. He can stand on his own 2 feet. But the point is, I've seen the posters. They are lying about not doxing Tucker Carlson and Stephen Miller. So I'm not going to trust anything they say. They go on to then smear Posobiec more. I really don't care what they have to say against him. If they broke the rules, they broke the rules, and Twitter took action against them. They go on to say that they're a collective of longtime activists, anti-fascists, etc., and they're trying to end white supremacy. Fine. I have this tweet here from Jack Posobiec himself. This is from June 23rd. Antifa DC has also doxed U.S. government official Stephen Miller and posted his address up around the city. In this picture, this is you can see the bottom left is blacked out with red. That is where his address is. I have confirmed this. The address was there. Jack, when he posted his version of the poster, he redacted that information. Otherwise, he too would be doxing. We then have Jack Posobiec tweeting, Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization of smelly losers who slither out of their parents' basements to attack the families of American patriots, veterans, and Christians. Doxing, swatting, and assaults have no place in American politics. So this is about, there's a free speech rally that's supposed to take place in D.C., and it's not necessarily, it's definitely not alt-right, and I wouldn't call it alt-light either. It's hard to place. It's kind of new right. You know, it's really hard to describe what these groups are, you know, who Jack Posobiec represents in terms of, like, his political space. Maybe just Trump supporters is a good way to put it. But there's not going to be, like, Stephen Miller and Tucker Carlson have nothing to do with the event. And this presents a bigger problem. This group, All Out District, is straight up lying. They did dox these two individuals. And these people aren't even speaking at the event, so why they put up posters around acting like they had anything to do with it, I don't know. It was an event for free speech. It was related to the hashtag #StopTheBias, and as we know, censorship is a serious and legitimate concern. But I will say, actually, hold on, before I move forward, there's supposed to be some big event tomorrow in Portland people have been hitting me up about. I want to say that activity from Antifa has kind of waned in recent time, which is great news, and for the people who fight them. There have been some street battles. There was one instance not that long ago where some Trump supporters were out on the sidewalk, and someone came up and got out of his car and started fighting with them. So we have seen street violence for sure, but it seems like we're on the back end of the bell curve of this, like, Antifa versus Trump supporter groups, at least for now. I think in the fall we may see more things light up, and my understanding is that tomorrow there's going to be another one of these Portland Patriot Prayer Proud Boys events. I'm not entirely sure what's supposed to happen, but, you know, Antifa is going to show up as per usual, and Portland tends to be a hotbed of this activity. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because there's not really a lot of Trump rallies. Maybe it's because Antifa is losing its appeal to young, like, I don't know, you know, extreme individuals. We haven't seen a whole lot of activity. But the reason I bring this up, and the reason I want to highlight this information about Antifa doxing, is that, for one, Antifa went to the house of Tucker Carlson, and it's contested as to what happened. Tucker says they broke the door. I don't think it means they kicked the door in while shrieking, but they're probably, you know, apparently banging on it and left some damage. Fine. Tucker's wife apparently hid in the closet, not knowing what was happening. So, yes, don't do that. In fact, my understanding is it was investigated as a hate crime. But the reason I bring this up outside of that, election season is here. The debates are here. We're going to get to a point in the next year where Trump starts holding more rallies. And the last time Trump ran, I was at dozens of his campaign stops, his rallies, and violence was alarming. I was in San Jose. I filmed a man getting whacked in that, just minding us, was walking down the street, and they whacked him in the head. I believe that Antifa will only be emboldened by the years following Trump's campaign, where more Antifa came out and got more violent. And so I'm concerned that even though I can say it seems like there's kind of a waning, we're still seeing Antifa action. And it's very likely that I think we're going to see it's going to get really, really bad outside of these Trump rallies. I can't speak for the Patriot Prayer stuff. Like, that stuff tends to happen all the time. We've seen some Proud Boy stuff in New York, but this is going to be different. Okay? The Proud Boys go out and do their things. Patriot Prayer goes out and does their things. Antifa goes and fights them. It's been happening. But what happens when you have thousands of people across the country showing up to rallies for Donald Trump again? When it comes to the election and the debates, you're going to see protests. You're going to see people lose control. You're going to see Antifa come out, and you're going to see them dox And then you're going to see activists using that information to target the families and the homes of these people. So, look, I'm not 100% behind the legal requirement for free speech, and this is a really good example. While I think, let me explain, I guess. Some people argue you should be allowed to post anything you want unless a court order says take it down. That's Jordan Peterson's platform, ThinkSpot. That's what he said. I completely disagree with that. Doxxing is a red line. If someone posts my address, I want that down, okay? I don't know if you can do anything to stop it, but that's kind of worrisome. That someone's like, here's your address, and then you have to hire security. So I don't know what should be done. Maybe I'm wrong and it should be allowed. I don't think it should. But if someone walked around with a sign with your address on it, what are you going to do about it? If they put up posters throughout DC with your address on it, what are you going to do about it? It's hard to know. I could talk a little bit. I'll leave it there because I've got a couple more stories I want to go over. Stick around, more segments to come, and I will see you shortly.